Hello, Scorpio. I'm Poetic Heretic, and this is your October 2019 tarot forecast. So I'll be giving you a Celtic cross forecast for all Scorpio people out there, sun, rising, and moon, for October 2019. And so we shall see what information, in addition to the astrology that we already looked at, that we can discover about your month of October to get an even more refined idea of just what to expect. So, one more thing before we get started. I decided that since it's Halloween this month, to use the Tarot of Vampires deck by Ian Daniels to give it a nice, dark, spooky Halloween vibe to this tarot reading. So, I'll be holding up each card close to the camera before we go over it in depth so you can see what they look like, since this is the only time I'll be using this deck anytime soon, this month anyway. All right, so without further ado, let us begin. We would like a Celtic cross forecast for all Scorpio people, sun, rising, and moon, for the month of October 2019. Let's see what we get. What will be the energy of October 2019 for all Scorpio people? What insight and advice can the universe give us for Scorpio in the month of October 2019? There we go. All right. The Ten of Skulls reversed. The Moon. The Hermit reversed. The Ace of Grails. The Ace of Knives reversed. Ooh, 2 aces in a row. Isn't that interesting? The Two of Knives reversed. The Three of Scepters. The Six of Scepters reversed. The Four of Skulls reversed. And a final outcome card of the Daughter of Scepters. Okay, very cool. All's well that ends well, as they say. And it looks like already I can see ways in which this very much matches your astrology. Isn't that interesting? But first, I'm going to take just about a minute or so. You can fast forward if you want to, but just to sort of sit here and take all this in before I officially begin diving into each card with you. So let me just sort of get the big picture here so I can really give you the best insight possible. One moment. Okay. I see what's going on here. Very interesting indeed. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go over this. So, first of all, you're starting off with, as I said, the 10 of Skulls reversed. This represents your current outside influences, and I will hold it up as I said I would. Each card, I'll show it to you upright so you can see how it's supposed to look or how it looks normally. This corresponds to the 10 of Pentacles in a classic tarot deck. You got that for your current outside influences. All right. And by the way, the reversal of this, not the best news. So if you don't want any bad news in this reading, I guess you're free to stop watching here. I tell it like it is. So just giving you a fair warning of that. But know that not the whole reading isn't bad. It's nothing like that. It actually has quite the positive ending. Just that there are definitely some challenges here that are popping up from time to time. This is one of them. So 10 of Skulls reversed, 10 of Pentacles reversed often can talk about the idea of like total ruin, things collapsing, things not working out, especially in a financial or material sense. Sort of like bankruptcy type things of that nature. I would say in some cases, sometimes the experience I've had with this card is like maybe it isn't so bad in that the reversal of it is just indicating that some material thing that you've been trying to manifest is not here yet, and or you're running into obstacles preventing you from manifesting it. So it could also be that for a number of you, I would say. But unfortunately, it does look like many of you are beginning the month on a very rough note where if you're not having financial difficulties, there's something that just seems to be like collapsing or entering a phase of destruction or ruin or upheaval or something like that. So sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but don't worry. Like I said, it's not all bad news here. All right, so your challenge card this month is the Moon. So here you go. This is what is crossing you this month. What is pushing you into new territory. Without challenges, we could not grow and we would not develop. Hey, it finally decided to focus. And often it is also the case that incorporating the energy of the challenge card will help you overcome the challenge itself. If you're able to integrate it rather than resist it or see it as not part of you. So basically what we have here, and it's also made very clear by other cards in this reading, is your challenge this month is being able to see things clearly, because it's going to be difficult to see things clearly. The Moon card is all about things being shrouded in illusion as one of its primary meanings. It's also heavily associated with the 12th house, interestingly enough. Remember your astrology that we went over earlier, talked a lot about that 12th house activity. I mean, it was like 12th house, 12th house, 12th house, over and over. And then also your first house, which I also see later on in this, interestingly enough. But yes, this is saying, this is pointing that out, that 12th house activity, and particularly how it appears to be manifesting here in this reading, is this idea of, like I said, again, a lack of clarity, a need, a desire, a challenge to see things clearly. Now, it can also manifest, again, as I briefly mentioned in the astrology video, as hidden enemies. So do be aware of that. Of course, it's going to talk about the idea of aloneness and solitude and stuff like that. I would say giving or give in the contextual factors of this card, that incorporating this idea of solitude in your life, especially earlier on this month, as we have a lot of that 12th house activity for you, is going to be what helps you. Like I said, you take the challenge card and you learn how to integrate it, then that should be what helps you overcome that very challenge, helps you master it, helps you grow from it. So let it be a part of your month, I would suggest and advise, to find solitude, to reflect on things, reflect on your goals, reflect on the past in preparation for the next cycle, as more and more things move into your first house, when it then becomes, well, not only a whole new cycle, but then first house of self, it becomes all about you personally, and you don't have to, focus upon this isolation stuff anymore. So that's what I would say primarily with the Moon card here. And we're going to see that theme repeating throughout this reading. For the underlying energy, this is an interesting one. Everything forming a foundation for your current situation as well as your immediate environment. You got the Hermit reversed. So let me show that to you upright. I love how, speaking of clarity and lack thereof, as I'm filming this, the sun keeps going in and out behind and then no longer behind the clouds. And so the lighting keeps shifting in here. If you're wondering what that is and couldn't figure it out, yeah, it's just the sun. This almost focused earlier. But anyway, like I said, this is the Hermit card. You did get it reversed. I'm just showing it upright for now. And you got it for the underlying energy, the foundation of your month, and the immediate environment. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't necessarily represent you so much as it represents the people around you, and or, like I said, the foundation of the month, what you sort of fall back on. All right, so let's look at the various implications here. I seem to be out of focus. Oh, well. So that's funny, because speaking of being out of focus, one of the primary, I would say, implications of the Hermit card reversed, or at least one that's rather prominent and I don't hear talked about anywhere nearly enough, is this lack of clarity is being unable to see things clearly, because the Hermit card upright has great intellectual precision with its Virgoan energy, but in its reversal, that gets clouded, that gets blocked. However, I think okay, there we go. I was about to, whatever, we're in focus now. So this is one interpretation of this anyway, is this idea again of a lack of clarity this month, that being your challenge, and the need to be able to, specifically in the instance of this card, use your intellect to regain that clarity, be more like the Hermit upright. And we see that repeating in this spread as well. We will return to this. However, with the reversal, or with it coming in as your underlying energy, I would say that it's quite possible that people around you, or just the environment that you find yourself in this month, is what is part of what is clouding your vision, what is part of what is making clarity difficult to find. So again, it's not necessarily you per se, but it could be things around you that are making it difficult for you to find clarity, or people around you that are making it difficult for you to find that mental clarity. Now, remember, there's a couple more things with this already, and I don't want to forget any of them. So Hermit card reversed, with its various associations with mental activity and also health, could be like a misdiagnosis. Be aware of that this month, or just like misinformation or errors in general. And we do, as I mentioned in the astrology video, have Mercury entering its retrograde shadow in the middle of the month. I believe October 11th, I said, and then going retrograde on the very last day of the month, Halloween. So already, indeed, we could be entering, time of confusing communications and stuff like that. So be aware of that. Hermit card reverse could also be a sign of potential health issues. And remember what I said about Mars in your 12th house for at least a little bit of this month. Hang on one second. I actually have it right here. I can just pull it up, make sure I get the right information. Correction, Mars in your 12th house for most of this month. So that could mean that Mars in your 12th house can be a difficult time for your health. The Hermit reversed, with its association with a Virgo in the 6th house of health, can talk about health concerns, and we see that in other areas of the reading here as well. So again, I just want to reiterate, be very careful with your health this month. Like, get extra rest and maybe take some vitamins if you want to. Like, these are just suggestions. I'm not telling you what to do, but do what you will. But that's what I would suggest. And the Moon card can also talk about that, as we just went over with your challenge. So there you have it. And also, one more thing with this card, again, with it just being the underlying energy and your immediate environment, it may even be something in your immediate environment that is negatively affecting your health, or someone perhaps even. So these are all things to be aware of. All right, let us see here. For the past, you got the Ace of Grails. The past issues you've had to deal with that then lead to your present. Here you go. This corresponds to the Ace of Cups in a typical tarot deck. So a couple of possibilities here also. Ace of Grails, Ace of Cups falling in your past position. Well, on the one hand, it seems that it may be the case for at least some of you that perhaps you really haven't had any major issues recently, because Ace of Grails, Ace of Cups is so often a card of, delightful, delicious new beginnings, especially in the realm of emotions. Like it can be finding new love, new romance. It can be finding a new creative endeavor that you just sort of fall in love with. It can be intense happiness, that sort of thing. So actually, that may be the case for at least some of you, that things have been great recently, and even though in the present, you got that 10 of Skulls reversed, maybe things aren't going so well at the beginning of October. Like recently, you've at least had some delightful events. All right, this blurriness we're going to have to try to take care of here. So you just do that. That should help. All right, so that's one possibility. However, if you have had issues in the recent past that then led to perhaps the same issues in the present, that's usually the case. Ace of Grails, Ace of Cups would point to most likely issues surrounding love, or at the very least issues that are involving the emotions very prominently, intensely charged, highly charged emotions, or highly charged issues. And usually in the sense with like the Ace of Grails, like overwhelming emotion, too much emotion to deal with perhaps, and perhaps interfering with other areas of your life. So we do have that. It's interesting, however. I'm not sure if this is definitely a connection or not. I think it may vary, but it's interesting that we have these indications in this reading of a lack of clarity, and then we get the Ace of Grails in the past. It could even be that this month your lack of clarity is happening because your emotions, perhaps even overwhelming emotion, is somehow clouding your ability to think logically and rationally. Your emotions are overwhelming your rational part of your perception, or your brain or mind, or however you want to put that, your personality. So if that sounds like you, know again that is an area in which you personally must work or ought to work this month. On that note, for what you hope to achieve this month, you got the Ace of Knives reversed. So let me show that to you up close. This is what it looks like upright. You got it reversed for what you hope to achieve, what you're reaching for, your highest hope, your highest wish this month. So Ace of Knives reversed just continues our theme here. What is one of the primary meanings of its reversal? A strong indication of a lack of clarity, a lack of an ability to think logically and with reason. So falling in what you hope to achieve, it's saying you're hoping to overcome that. You're hoping to overcome the blockage to the ability to think clearly, to see things clearly and logically, especially, well, that's what this card means very often upright, is clear mental perception. Now, it also talks about new beginnings. So there may be many of you who are reaching for a new beginning in the realm, excuse me, in the realm of the mind, in the realm of logic and reasoning, maybe something that is involving like scientific thinking or something of that nature. But that's what we have. Yet another indication of trying to break through the fog this month. For the near future, you got the Two of Knives reversed. So to represent the first week or two of the month, here it is upright. And this card corresponds to the Two of Swords in a classic tarot deck. All right, so most obvious thing with the Two of Knives reversed is yet another continuation of our theme here, a difficulty in seeing things clearly. And in this case, particularly, I would say being, or at least the potential for being caught up in too much subjectivity, in too much irrationalism. So do be aware of that. Now, getting on to other potential meanings with this card. Again, this is the first week or two of your month, especially. The idea of, in a more positive sense, the ending of a stalemate. That's one of the main things you hear about with this card, particularly in its reversal. Breaking through some kind of stalemate, some kind of thing, or some kind of time where things have been paused. You know, the ending of a time of stagnancy and beginning to make some real progress. And so I think it could probably go either way for many of you, considering the other cards that we have in this reading. But just again, remember, try to think logically about things this month. But this may be a sort of breakthrough point in that first week or two where maybe things aren't completely clear again or completely making progress just yet, but you're starting to make some progress. And that is backed up even further by our next card for your attitude or position on the situation, the Three of Scepters. So let me hold that up for a moment. This corresponds to the Three of Wands in a classic tarot deck. So the Three of Scepters, Three of Wands is all about expanding into new territory. So isn't that interesting? So the fact that this is coming up for your attitude or position on the situation does not mean that you are literally expanding into new territory, but at the very least, you feel like you are expanding into new territory. And that's why I'm thinking, or that's another reason I'm thinking anyway, that yes, perhaps in that first week or two, probably especially more so the second week, because this is more focused around the middle of the month, but not exclusively that. That if you're feeling that way, chances are there is at least a little bit of movement that is taking place, a little bit of progress, a little bit of expansion into new territories by sort of maybe that like second towards the end of the second week, perhaps, of the month, I would say, right in that area, which is interesting because it is right around that time that we have that full moon in Aries. So, and Aries is an energy, a sign energy, all about boldly stepping into the new. So now that's going to affect everyone, but perhaps the way it's affecting you is getting you out of this bit of stagnation, or maybe even getting you out of this state of like illusion that we see, like with the moon card and all these other cards. But that's not guaranteed from what I'm seeing here. I guess on the flip side of that, I have to say, just in case, and I hope it isn't this, but just in case, beware also falling under the illusion that you are making progress when you really are not. You might have to really try to be extra honest with yourself this month. Like, are you making progress? Are you expanding into new territories, or does it only seem like you are? Because remember, illusion is a big challenge for you this month. And again, that it's interesting how that makes sense with your astrology, all that 12th house activity this month. All right, for the outside force coming in, you got the 6 of Scepters reversed. So let me hold that up in its upright position. This corresponds to the 6 of Wands in a classic tarot deck. And you did get it reversed. Just showing it to you upright for now. All right, so 6 of Scepters or 6 of Wands reversed, outside force coming in. First of all, remember, with it being the outside force coming in, this is not really talking about you. It's talking about someone or something coming toward you. It's the outside force coming in. Now, in this particular context, I'm going to say this card, with it being a 6 in particular, and the outside force coming in and the reversal, is likely indicating someone or something coming to you this month that is not good for your health. Remember, that's another theme we've been looking at this month, is the potential for health challenges, all that Mars in your 12th house activity. So do be aware of that. You know, if someone or something, like some situation presents itself to you and you think it's bad for your health, do what you need to do to protect yourself and to take care of your physical health. You know, that's the whole idea with these readings, is that we get warnings about things that might happen so we can take action to hopefully prevent them, or at least mitigate the unwanted as much as possible and maximize what we want that is probable as much as possible. I hope that made sense. So that's the main possibility with this. The other thing that I would say in this context is there may be someone or something coming at you this month that tries to impede your progress significantly. And it's interesting how we sort of see that in this reading as well, or we at least see that theme popping up a little bit here and there. Like this card in its upright position, if you were to really simplify it to just 3 words, I would say victory, triumph, progress. That's how I always think of it anyway. And so the reversal and outside force coming in, likely someone or something trying to impede your victory or triumph or progress. So do be aware of that as well. It might even be someone who's perhaps rather egotistical or something like that, I would think, with that card reversed. But anyway, whatever. For your hopes or fears, you got the 4 of Skulls reversed. Hold that up right there. This corresponds to the 4 of Pentacles in a classic tarot deck. Well, it goes to focus right as I go to pull it away. Well, here's a few seconds more then with it in focus. Okay. So, Four of Skulls reversed and your hopes or fears. Interesting card to get there because it seems to harken back to the very first card we saw, the Ten of Skulls reversed, indicating the potential for some kind of financial ruin, because this falling reverse in your hopes or fears tells me far more likely than anything you're worried about security, especially financial security this month, money concerns, security concerns, that sort of thing. Now, for some of you, especially with this being a general reading, it might not be financial. It might be that you're worried about security in general, possibly not feeling completely secure. And maybe that's because, as we see with the Moon card being your challenge and other cards, things are shrouded in mist this month. This is like the misty month for Scorpio. Now, that doesn't have to be an entirely bad thing, keep in mind, because it can be great for creativity, this kind of energy. Any kind of creative endeavor you can think of, anything that uses the right brain, intuitive thinking, it can be great for that. It's just that it's showing up, again, for you guys this month. It's showing up specifically also as being a challenge in that it's interfering in some way with your logical thought processes. And so that's what I, again, want you to be aware of. But yes, we have another indicator of a sort of fear of security here. But fortunately, we have a rather positive outcome card. How you're concluding the month of October. You got the Daughter of Scepters. Here you go. This corresponds to the Page of Wands in a classic tarot deck. All right, so the Daughter of Scepters, or the Page of Wands, is all about inspiration and spontaneity and excitement for the new and acting on inspiration and being willing to sort of push forward into the new. And again, isn't it interesting? Remember also the Three of Scepters earlier for your attitude or position in the situation was talking about how you're feeling, at least this month, or at least by about halfway through the month, like you are making at least some progress, like you are at least to some extent, even if just a little bit, expanding into new territory. And now we have this card, which is also talking about sort of pushing into the new or the excitement for the new. Remember how even with all that 12th house activity this month, which is having you being alone and possibly in a state of illusion and stuff like that, we have a lot of things going from your 12th house then into your first house of self, which is indeed all about a whole new you, a whole new everything potentially, or a whole new all kinds of stuff. The first house is the first house for a reason. It's the beginning of a new cycle. And so it's interesting for you guys this month, October. It's like for much of it, or at the very least for some of it, you're sort of struggling through that 12th house illusion stuff. But then more and more, as your first house gets activated and your 12th house gets left behind for now, you then break through that illusion stuff. And all of a sudden, you're doing new things, you're excited about new things that are coming. You're following your spontaneous feelings, or you're being spontaneous, you're listening to your inspiration, new things are happening, your excitement is flowing, and it's a really fun, delightful time. So it's like basically there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I would say, this month. So that's really good. Maybe, once we get towards the end of the month, the sun, as I mentioned earlier in your astrology video, it does indeed move into your sign of Scorpio. And so it's like maybe you just need for everything, or how should I put this? Not that you need for it to all be in Scorpio, but maybe the way it's all manifesting for you this month, especially because we have an unusually high amount of planets sort of clustered together, all sort of going from your 12th to your first, or most of them anyway. All of that energy moving into your first house of self is what then activates you, and including the sun itself. Scorpio season begins, and it's like, it's your time, it's literally your time of year, but we also have an extra amount of planets transiting Scorpio by the end of October. And so that's just sort of energizing you guys further to maybe oversimplify it. So yeah, light at the end of the tunnel, basically. Now, one more quick thing about this card, Daughter of Scepters. With it being a court card, it could refer theoretically to a young female fire sign. So whether that's like an actual child or a young adult, or maybe even someone into like their early 30s, who knows? And fire sign, that's Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. Someone like that coming into your life, perhaps around the end of the month, and who is most likely beneficial to you, being that this card is showing up upright, and we're not really, well, maybe we are getting some indications of some potential mischief from other people this month, but I just would doubt that it would be this person. Actually, why don't we do this? I'm going to draw one more card and see if we can perhaps get some more information on that. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but let's just see. The Nine of Knives reversed. Well, this corresponds to the Nine of Swords in a classic tarot deck. I'll just show it very briefly here. Well, I would say, if anything, it would point to that person indeed not being someone who will trouble you, but instead be someone who's good for you, because Nine of Knives reversed is like the relief from worry, coming to one's senses, gaining clarity. Isn't that interesting, you guys? Your whole challenge this month has been, or so much of it has been, trying to find clarity, as I mentioned, and now we have this indication that you're going to gain clarity, or perhaps a person will come into your life around the end of the month and help you gain clarity. So interesting stuff. Anyway, that's about it, Scorpio. I hope you have a month. And happy Halloween. Halloween takes place during Scorpio season. It's like it's your holiday. Halloween is the Scorpio holiday. Very appropriate indeed, with such a sort of dark, spooky, intense sign. Halloween being all like, that's when things go from being all beautiful in Libra season to being like dead, and embracing that in Scorpio season. But that has its own beauty, I would say. Sometimes I think that the bare trees of like Scorpio season, and like kind of like mid-late fall in that time of the year, is actually somehow more beautiful than even like more like Libra season, and when the leaves are on the trees. But I don't know, it's all beautiful. Anyway, I don't mean to digress on that topic here. Just thank you for watching. Hope you have a great month, and I do hope to see you next time. And feel free to subscribe if you're not already, because I plan on returning very soon with more astrology and tarot related videos, astrology, and tarot forecasts. So thanks again. Have a great month, and bye for now.